Okay, friends, this is just a very brief walkthrough of the tools that we're going to use, really the big things, the things that are going to be persistent in our class, the things that I'll give you, the things that I'll do, and just ways to sort of optimize this course. Again, this is taking place at that 15-minute video you probably did not watch, but that's okay because I probably wouldn't have either. So this is taking place at that, but it is recorded. As always, it'll be put in our office hour right here where it says meet and greet. This lecture recording or this office hour recording will be there. So what I wanted to do is just give you a very brief overview. Again, you guys, most of you guys this is your second or third stack, but for the people that it's your first stack, welcome. I'm really glad that you are doing MERN or JavaScript. It's called both, right? We use MongoDB. We use Express, which is what's going to connect the two. We're going to use React and then Node.js. So Node.js is a backend JavaScript language. It is, and then React is a front-end library. So I might use those interchangeably. MERN stands for Mongo, Express, React, Node. So they are very interchangeable. So welcome to this stack. There's a few things, tips and tricks for you. This is our Google Class calendar that you should all have access to. If you do not have access to it or you've not seen this ever, please let me know. You can send or let Gray know. You can send a chat to one of us. Please let us know immediately and we can get you access to this. You should all have it. I sent a couple emails with it. So with this, there's a few things. Thank you. I believe it was Luis who pointed out there was no Zoom lecture link. Now there is. So we've got that. We're good to go. But here's our Zoom lecture link. This is going to be really the place that you find all things. We're going to have a cohort GitHub repo. Obviously, we haven't had a class yet, so that hasn't been created. Same thing with the lecture recordings. But once that happens, I will have a YouTube playlist here on these lecture recordings. And then our cohort GitHub playlist, cohort GitHub repo. I will have all of our code that we do during class up in GitHub. So that way you guys can view it. And that way you can sort of see exactly what's going on. And if you need to go back to that, you have that code. I might use this office hour bonus recordings. It kind of is the same thing. I will also link them right here. So if I have some sort of breakdown, so if our office hour consists of the first 30 minutes, we're doing A, and the second 30 minutes, we're doing B. And I feel like, that's something that we want to break down, then we can go ahead and do that. They will all be right here as well. A link to the video. You can find these on the login or the Learn platform as well. So there's going to be a ton of different places that you can find all materials. You'll see that I do typically like to be very, there's like lots of data in a lot of places. So that way, there's never confusion and it doesn't just live on one document, which is my biggest pet peeve. With this, you'll also see if there is any, days off or anything like that. We don't have that for this stack, but if you guys are moving on to another stack, you might have seen, if there's some sort of holiday, that'll be there. If I'm out, I will note that here. I don't have anything planned for me to be out, but if I am for some reason, you can see that here and I will note that. So this will be a document that if I were you, I would encourage you maybe to bookmark this because it's going to be really, really, really important. Here, you're also going to find all the readings. I posted a message yesterday. These are obviously optional. My encouragement, though, is that if you have the capacity, I know that a lot of you guys are also people who have, jobs. So maybe you don't have the most abundant time or you can't quite make it. These are all suggestions on when to get through things to sort of keep up with the lecture. But if you are like a weekend warrior, meaning that Friday and Saturday is when you knock everything out, that's super okay, right? We're all just trying to make it and we all have an end goal. But here, there are some suggested readings for the class. We're going to usually talk about all of this stuff during that lecture. Like today, we're going to talk about everything except maybe destructuring because we'll just see how far we get. Also, I don't like to overwhelm you in our first lecture. So here's all these readings. Again, here's the end of day assignment. So the core assignments. Now, again, this is all just suggested. Your end of day stuff is due at 11:59 p.m. on that following Sunday. So the 12th is when everything will be due for you. But these are all suggested just to not overwhelm you. Also, there is a one-on-one with me. So if you have something class specific then you can ask for a one-on-one with me. It'll go into my calendar, and anytime you can sort of pick from the times that I have available. I will say that I don't have the most abundant, open time, but if you do need something, let's say you really want help, there's quite a few ways that we can get you there. First one is you can do a one-on-one with any instructor. And so really what that'll do is it'll allow you to go in and basically say, okay, I need help on, let's say, MongoDB. Then you can pick a time, like let's say tomorrow. And what this will do is anytime somebody has like any instructor that has time at 11:30. So really it does what's best for you, right? So if you like the best time is at 11 a.m. PST, maybe I'm not available, but what this does is it has a bunch of instructors that kind of goes through and says, okay, who's available? Okay, great, go ahead. And we'll make a meeting with them. So that's a way to also get some help if you need through the Calendly. We have our TA and Dojo Hall schedule, our assignment checklist, career services, all their information, some other helpful links like my email if you need it. So there's quite a bit of information, some information on office hours and lectures. So anything that you need should be on this sheet. There are some questions. So what I like to do, and you'll see, is whenever I instruct, I kind of go over a topic and then pause and say, okay, are there any questions? Or I like to look in chat. So somebody said, are all EOD the required assignments? Yes. Typically, these are going to be your core assignments. Again, you can find that in the assignment checklist. And I will also send it out every week. I'm not sure if you guys received an email from me yesterday, but I like to send out a This Week in MERN. That's going to give you a link to every assignment, everything that you need. It'll be right there as well. Somebody also said the reading should be mostly from the platform, but there may be some articles or documentation. Yeah, if Gray or I find anything that we think will be really helpful, if there's a great article, I'll put that here. Again, this is going to be sort of our central document for everything that we need, lectures and office hours and any sort of dates or times or wanting to know when is our exam. Fun fact, it starts on not Valentine's Day. What's the other day? St. Patrick's Day. So that's good or bad. We don't know. But it starts on the 17th. So we are going to be rocking and rolling here pretty soon in 6 weeks. Fun fact, we will be already taking an exam. Somebody asked, I noticed we have a lot less core assignments. Does that mean they're overall bigger or more complex? Not necessarily. One thing I will say is that there are some assignments that build upon each other. But one thing you'll note here is it's very, very different. And I'm going to say this again. So unfortunately, you guys are going to have to listen to this at the beginning of our lecture. But the MERN stack is very, very, very different than the Python and the Java stack. The reason is we're going to talk about really, you guys created an API/server, whether it's in Flask or Java, that you can call and get information and just throw it on an HTML. Now, what we're going to be dealing with is tons of moving parts. You're going to have this MongoDB backend. You're going to have a Node server, which is similar to like our Flask. Then you're going to have a React client on the front end. So now you're going to have two things working together. And then you have to set up Express and Mongoose to sort of connect all the pieces together. So it's going to be component based. So you're going to have tons of reusable things. So because of that, we do have quite a few, or it's not as, there's not as many sort of little assignments there. So great question. Somebody said, we'll need a green beer after that. Absolutely. Tell me where and I'll join. Definitely seems more intense than the first week compared to Python and Java. It is in a sense. Today's easy. Today is we're sort of getting our feet wet again. Whether if you guys took a break or you're jumping again into it. So today we're going to really take a easy seat, but yes, it can ramp up a little bit in the next couple of weeks. Yeah, a lot of things are going to be going on, but what's really nice about it is, if I'm being super transparent, this is much, much more relatable to a real world application than, nothing against Python and nothing against Java, because I love Python. It's my favorite language. I launched the Flask program in this for the accelerated, part-time accelerated, love it to death. But that's just one piece of a normal, like actual project or actual application. You have to have the React, the front end, the client, the Angular, the Vue, doesn't matter which one you use, but you're always going to have some sort of library or some sort of front end for that, unless you're just building a, basic API or something. And so this, in my opinion, gives you a lot of resources, a lot of a lot more of an understanding of how cohesively everything's going to work together, which I think is really, really, really sweet. Cool.
I also wanted to add that you're actually learning how to use a library, because I know like for Python and Java, those are, backend languages. So you're working with the actual language itself, but here you have to work with, well, depending on library framework, I don't even know these days, but yeah, now you're going to be like how to work with this library or framework and how to, use the different functions and how to combine them with a backend. So like it does seem like a lot, but like what Will said, it's just like, this is going to be more of the real world, because we're typically going to use a framework or a front end separate from the back end. So
yeah. So React is a library. So if it is a library, but Gray is exactly right. It's going to be a connection thing, but let me not stress you out. This is very, very doable. It is not this like, it's not known as the hardest of the stacks, nothing like that. Especially if you pass Java, this is going to be way more of a breeze. There's way less steps. But yes, it's really, really robust, which is awesome. Somebody asked, can other languages be combined, such as Python with MERN? Yeah, except you just wouldn't have Node as your backend. That's a very popular thing, is to have a Flask backend, or Django's pretty heavy, but like a fast API, which is another framework for Python, and then having a React front end is really, really popular. So, oh yeah, Gray already answered that. So somebody said, I mean, if it's like the overview where there's a lot of interactive and gaming type things, then it seems very fun. Yeah, it is really fun. It is really robust. I mean, what I like about this stack as well, not that you guys are paying for my opinion, but everybody wants a React dev. Like React is one of the hottest things. And so if you know Python or Node and you also know React, it just also will help, your ability to get a job after this, which is everybody's goal. Cool. So another thing, sorry, it got so dark. It was super bright and then now it's super dark. Another thing we're going to use, as always, is our platform, right? The Learn platform. I don't know if you guys know this, but you can bookmark things. So if you wanted this basic, if you, instead of having to look, you can just press the bookmark thing and it'll show up here. It's a fun little fact that I taught. A lot of our instructors didn't know, but yeah, we're going to be using this. I will refer to this mostly, like most often during class. Always want to try to relate and say, where's the most, where's some more information coming? Where is, where am I getting this from? So we will be talking about this. If you have not, please install Node. I did put that into our email, but please, please, please install Node because it will be beneficial. And if you don't have it installed, then what will happen is I will, you'll try to run it and then you'll tell me I have an error, but then it can't run it if you don't have it. So please make sure it's in this section. I did also put that in an email, but make sure that you have Node installed. We're also going to install Code Runner. Sorry, I'm going to mute. There you go. We're going to install Code Runner, which is going to be a way that we're going to run code. Now that's going to be in our VS Code. And so that'll just be an extension within our VS Code as well. That will help us as we just want to run things quickly. You can run it by the terminal, but Code Runner is just a really easy and simple tool. Code Runner, though, I wouldn't do it with Python if you want to extend your languages or if you want to do like projects and algorithms. In projects and algorithms, if you say I'm going to build a Python project, I would say don't use Code Runner for that because it's really primarily for JavaScript and it can give some weird errors if we do that. Obviously, one of the most important things we're going to have is our Discord here. So if you haven't gotten access, you should all have access to cohort-will-feb in this MERN part-time. You won't see a lot of this stuff because I'm an instructor, so I see this, but you should just see at least mine. If you haven't, can you guys put in the chat that you haven't gotten access? And then Gray, if there is anybody, can you comment that way I make sure that I get you access? What I'll do is I'll be transparent. I'm not going to spam this every single day with something, but what I typically will do is just an overview of, hey, here's first day of the week. What are we thinking? Here's a couple things for you. I might put a tip and trick if I learn something fun, or if Gray learns something fun, or if you guys do. I hope that this will be a tool that you guys utilize more than anything, just to communicate and understand and ask questions, which leads me sort of into the next topic. We currently have the ability to go to Dojo Hall whenever we want. And I'm going to hit this sort of in the lecture as well. That you can just go to Dojo Hall and get help. My encouragement, just as your new friend, because now we've met, we're friends. My encouragement is make sure before you go to Dojo Hall that you post in Discord and you ask the question. Oftentimes I have found that one student can answer it, or a TA can answer it really, really quickly versus you having to wait 30 minutes if Dojo Hall is busy. Secondly, what it allows is if another student knows the answer, that actually helps you learn is by having to now go teach it. And so explaining that, so you're helping your fellow students. If you have a question, there is no dumb question here. Unless you were to ask like, what's better than pizza? And it's like nothing. So that maybe would be a dumb question because pizza rocks. But if you have a question, please post that in Discord and then see if you don't get a response after 20 minutes, then and while you've posted it, you've been trying to figure it out, then go ahead and hop into Dojo Hall. The whole reason I say that is not because we don't want you to go to Dojo Hall. That's what it's for, right? That's why we have tons of TAs, so that way you guys can get help. But the real reason is in actual development, you will have to figure out a lot of stuff on your own. And oftentimes you're not going to have somebody that you can just run to and get the answer. And maybe they don't even have the answer. Like oftentimes I'll go to my boss and say, hey, what is the answer to this? And they don't know either. Right. And so it's like, okay, well, I guess I got to figure this out. So what I hope that you guys do is get in the habit of, how do I figure this out on my own? We're going to talk about a tool in the actual class, which I'll wait. There's a new technology, I'm sure you guys all know it, that can answer almost anything for you in a really, really robust way. And I'm very pro. Exactly, Christopher. I'm very, very, very pro ChatGPT. I love ChatGPT. I love Bard, which is the new Google one coming out. I haven't tried it yet, but I'm assuming Bard's going to be the GOAT. And it's going to be a great, great way for you to learn. So, that'll be a big thing. But again, going back to it, make sure you're challenging yourself and not just, if you don't go to Dojo Hall, but then you go to ChatGPT, it's sort of doing the same thing, right? You're still having to learn how to, you need to learn how to read documentation. That'll be a big portion of it. And so we'll try to do some of that today, or not today, sorry. But throughout this course, I'll try to pepper in some documentation so we can understand this is how we do it. Or maybe Gray, that would be a great office hour sort of topic for us to do for Gray's hour.
Yeah, really excited. Just another note for asking for help. So for some of y'all, this is your last stack until project analysis. So a lot of y'all know me. Yeah, I know I was in the Dojo Hall. I was with y'all in the trenches. But now, as we're getting to your third, now you're almost your last stack. Well, because project analogy, last stack. We're definitely going to be encouraging you to do it on your own. And again, like Will said, we're preparing you. So when you go off in the real world and your supervisor says, hey, I have this bug I need you to work out for the day or for 2 weeks, whatever, you're going to feel confident that, hey, I know how to do it, and not feel stressed and anxiety and worried like, oh man, where's the TA? Because we're not going to be there. We're not. Sorry. So, we're going to be pushing you a little bit. But it's really encouraging you because some of you folks have been here for 2, 3, maybe 5 months now. So understand that you're picking up skills. So the training wheels are going to start to come off a little bit, but don't freak out. Don't worry. We're still going to be here to support you as best as we can. But we're definitely going to be encouraging you more. Post in the chat. Did you ask your coworkers, your colleagues, your classmates, like, hey, how were you able to figure this out? Hey, I posted my screenshot here. Please start to work with one another. Okay, so 60 plus in this class. So there should be someone, y'all linking up with one another. Okay, so just letting you know, guys know, everyone know, I'm going to be encouraging that a lot for this cohort. Very good. So, yeah.
Yeah. And that's all that to say is that is not to say we don't want to help. Please never hear that. It's like, I don't know. I don't have a kid, so I can't say it's like when you have a kid, but I assume what it's like when you have a kid is, I've always heard like eating your vegetables and eating healthy versus having ice cream. It's like the kid doesn't want that, but you're like, no, no, no. I know that this is going to help you. It's the same thing as learning how to problem solve is going to be massive for actually completing deadlines, for implementing libraries, for implementing APIs. Like, cannot tell you how often you have to read documentation. So please, 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 please make sure that you guys are doing that. And obviously we're here to help in any sort of facet, in any sort of way. If you feel like you're at a point where you can't figure it out, always come to us and we will help you. That's what we love to do. So great. Cool. What else do we have? We got this Discord. We're going to put that here. Are there any questions? Anybody have any questions for me? Anything that you need help with? Or confusing?
I had a question earlier.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering, on the Node version, it says to have it doesn't really say what version to have. It says the latest or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I think I have the like 0.12. I don't know if that's going to cause any problems later.
So I believe whenever you go to, if you deploy, you have to have 14 and above. I think 18 is the most recent. But for the deployment, if you do it on for the EC2 instance for AWS, I believe it's 14 and above. So if you can, I would download a higher one. Yeah, somebody asked not a question about the stack, but curious what's your background and history in the industry. Wonderful question. I will, again, you guys came to the first office hour, which is awesome. And I'm really grateful for that. But I'm going to hit this a little bit as an introduction, but I'm happy to do that. My background is actually marketing and economics was what I got my first degree in. And then decided, hey, I actually don't like this, and learned how to code 3 years ago. So learned how to code. And since then I have taught at Coding Dojo. I've worked for a company called Twilio, which is like a API, sort of like if you do texting. I was a success engineer there. So I wasn't a software engineer, but what I would do is implement the like the actual tools they had. And then I've been a software engineer, am a software engineer, as well as on a contract. So currently in the thick of it as well. So I have experienced that, and actually the technologies that we use is React, which is fun. Well, there's lots of stuff in Amazon and EC2 instances, stuff like that. Somebody asked, am I self-taught? No, I actually am a product of Coding Dojo, which is a fun thing. So it's just to show you that it can happen. You can go to Coding Dojo and go get a job outside of that. So yeah, very cool. Very fun. I love tech. It has given myself and my family lots of different abilities and options and life. I live in Seattle, so it's always a good place for tech. Well, I guess maybe not right now with all the layoffs, but yeah, it is a good place for learning tech and growing. And there's such a big industry, not even just in Seattle. Obviously, there's tons of places and tons of opportunities out there, though I'm sure that some of you guys have heard that there are quite a few layoffs recently, which is a bummer. You know, when we talk about Microsoft or we talk about Amazon, some of the times they, some of the people in layoffs were like masseuse. Not that that is a good thing or bad thing, but not everybody that got laid off was software engineers, unless you're really Twitter. There was a big drop there. But this is still a very, very robust industry. There's still tons of jobs. Some of the big ones have dropped things, and I have my own opinions on that, that maybe when I'm not recording, we can chat about. Has a lot to do with, you know, share price and stuff, but there's still a ton of, I mean, I get stuff all the time on LinkedIn. Hey, do you want to come work here? Do you want to come work here? So there's still tons of opportunities out there. So yeah. So after I graduated, I actually came and was a TA here, and then I was an instructor, and I taught gray, and then I left to go work at Twilio and then my other company. And then I came back because I really love teaching. I have been with Coding Dojo for going on 3 years now, which is pretty crazy. Yeah, going on 3 years now. So I still think that we are learning and growing, and I love that people can change their life. Like, I have taught probably over 500, like I'm probably within 500 to 800 students. And so I've seen tons of success stories, which is awesome. I taught with this program as a Python instructor and web development, or web fundamental, and learned MERN, or did MERN, sorry. And then I transferred over, and I was part of Coding Dojo has a data science program. And so I actually went and taught there for like half a year. Helped, they didn't have any sort of like operations, so sort of helped get all their operations running, which is awesome. Data science is great. Lots of machine learning and data cleaning, and then left. And now I'm back, which is awesome, which is fun because I really, really enjoy actually teaching. Thanks for asking. Does anybody have any experience? Are anybody in here a dev just trying to upskill and learn MERN, or how many people here are sort of trying to change industry? Okay, slight shift from IT, SQL dev here. New to the industry, career change. SQL dev, awesome, Jose. You're gonna learn MongoDB, which is obviously, as you know, different, but I'm sure that your knowledge will be very, very helpful for this. And then Colette, looks like you're a front-end developer currently. Wow. What are you currently writing?
I actually just got a job that doesn't start until next week as a front-end developer using React. So this will be
Stop.
helpful. Yeah,
That's amazing. Good for you.
thanks.
What is the company like? You, okay, wait, help me understand. So you started this, were you already in developer roles, or is this the transition?
I've been a front-end developer for like 6 or 7 years. So
Oh,
this is
okay.
just a better job.
Sure. Well, that's awesome. In React, congratulations. That is, so I'll be honest, I'm gonna lean on you a little bit to help, because you're also in the industry, also teaching. So that is, or also doing it. So that was great. Do you know what you're back, like, what are you connecting to?
I don't know yet. It's
Okay.
find out next week.
That's awesome. We love that. We love that. So it also shows, friends, that people are still hiring, and that React is a big thing. Did you, Colette, not to just put you on the spot, but have you always learned React, or what did you write in before that?
Before that, it was just kind of like vanilla JavaScript and jQuery. And then I actually did a lot of stuff with like PHP and a little bit of SQL.
Oh, sure. Very
Now
cool.
this is more specifically front end using React.
Cool. Very cool. Well, that's awesome. Great. Does anybody have, that's sort of all I have. I don't want to bore you to death with this, but does anybody have any questions, sort of tools and of things that we need, things that you need, any sort of blockers on your end? Okay, great. I'll go ahead and stop the recording, and then we can kind of just hang out. I don't have